Over the last 2 decades, Africa has been on the rise with large-scale foreign investments and the return of the African diaspora to the continent. Africa is now on the path towards growth and economic progress. The development of the innovation ecosystem within the continent is booming with several programs to support startups and early-stage entrepreneurs. Prospective entrepreneurs now have the opportunity to be supported by incubation hubs and business acceleration services in key sectors within the continent. The increasing expansion of the entrepreneurship ecosystem is serving as lifeline to entrepreneurs at all levels of business development, especially as related to access to finance, growth strategies, and access to the export market. To shed light on these initiatives in Ghana and the rest of the Sub-Saharan African region, I have with me on the show today Mr. Richard Yeboah. Well, I've known Richard for a long time, and providing a complete overview of his work over the last decade might probably need the entirety of the show. Richard, isn't that the case?
Yeah, I've done quite a lot of things.
Yeah, indeed. And you are a specialist in entrepreneurship development and SME support and enterprise creation services in industrialized and developing countries, especially within the African sub-region, and with special focus on migrants and youth entrepreneurship, even though that is increasingly expanding your base and those that you are reaching out to. So for over nearly 2 decades, Richard has supported many entrepreneurs, companies, and NGOs in their early startup stage to become sustainable entities. He is the project director of Ghana Innovation Hub, managing director of Green Energy Ghana, and before then he was the regional director of MDF Training and Consultancy, West African Regional Office. Even though you are you're obviously still working with MDF as part of the consortium of Ghana Innovation Hub. Isn't that the case?
Yeah, so actually at this moment I am director of MDF West Africa, but in the global network of MDF, I'm the regional director for Africa, managing the 6 offices that we have in Africa. And then, of course, I will tell you a bit more about the different roles that I have with my titles. Right. But in the Ghana Innovation Hub is a project funded by the Ghana government through a World Bank funding. And we submitted a bid as MDF, Ghana Technology University College, and Blue Space Africa. And as lead firm, as MDF, we had to appoint a project director, and I'm then the project director.
Oh, great. And so I know I left out several areas on your background, training and work, things as part of your work in the Netherlands as well. So would you mind telling us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, okay. Well, I always start with born in Ghana, but grew up in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam to be specific. Did my schooling in the Netherlands from primary, secondary school, university, did industrial engineering and management with focus on financial engineering and doing business in developing countries. Started my own company during my university degree, did that for a long time and worked for several organizations as a freelancer, as a consultant. I think where we met each other was in the space of migration and development, and then really focusing on diaspora community in the Netherlands who wanted to set up their business in countries of origin. I did that for a long time, and I remember 2012, somebody asked me, but Richard, if you are advising us to set up businesses in countries of origin, why are you still in the Netherlands? Why are you not using the knowledge that you are teaching us to do it yourself. So it was very much a reflection. So then I took the bold step to make this step to do this in Ghana. But then the lessons that I learned was that it's always good to partner. So I got in contact with MDF, which I knew because we were submitting a bid together for a program in South Sudan. And to make my story short, after a few negotiations, we came to an agreement where then I'm heading now the office in Ghana that is responsible for the West African sub-region.
What is your main area of work within MDF currently, in your current position? I mean, we can talk and then sync that into your work at Ghana Innovation Hub, but what is your main area of within MDF?
Also, for my assignment was, help MDF to we had a small office in Ghana, make it self-sustaining and grow the office. So I joined MDF when we had a small office of 4 staff members, and now we are over 30 staff members over a period of 7 years, actively doing projects with practically in every 50 member states, countries of the ECOWAS, but mainly Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Benin, and then working a lot for organizations like ECOWAS or programs for regional entities in West Africa. So I'm more focusing on institutional development, but also linking always to social impact and sustainability of organizations and companies. Looking at it from the social economical point of view and building institutions. I think that is what I can say that I really look at. And then, of course, for a long time, I've been also focusing on institutionalizing entrepreneurship support within MDF as a whole.
And I think there's the area of institutionalizing the support, entrepreneurship support, and building the processes for supporting entrepreneurs that led into developing the Ghana Innovation Hub.
Yeah, actually, yes. So, when I joined MDF, we said, if you look at Africa, and especially if you look at West Africa, you have a lot of young population. There's not enough companies set up to absorb all these young talents. And so one of the things that we said, in order to do that, you need to have strong institutions that can provide entrepreneurship support. So that was the starting journey of MDF to become an enterprise support organization. We tested some few models and some few concepts, and through that we build it. And then the Ghana government came up with a tender where they, under the e-transform program, they wanted to improve the innovative ecosystem and really looking at digitalization and technology-driven businesses. So, of course, looking at it, we are, as MDA, very strong in management, project management, helping organizations to grow, either NGOs, government, or companies. So we partner with Ghana Technology University College, a university that is capable of building the capacity of young people in technology and helping them to transform technology knowledge into businesses. And then Blue Space Africa, which is an IT enabling company. So we brought all this knowledge together to set up the Ghana Innovation Hub.
Yeah, you mentioned quite a lot in the area of technology. Is that an area you see that has a huge prospect for innovation in Ghana?
Yes, I think that is, because of a lot of infrastructural systems are not, for a long time, were not there. If you look even at the movement of mobile phones, initially, I quite remember that when I was growing up in the Netherlands, you wanted to call a family member, then you call a call center, and then somebody will then go to the location to call the person, and then in an hour's time, you had to call back. But suddenly when mobile phones came in, it was easy for everybody to have accessibility. So I really believe that technology can shorten the distances and can speed up development. And actually, COVID-19 has shown also how important technology can be in all these operations.
Yeah, and I see also the e-commerce space in Ghana is also exploding quite recently.
Yeah, exactly. Now you live in a bit outside the city center. You can now through online payment systems or online ordering, and people can then bring your food or any item that you buy to location. Mobile money. People that didn't have access to a bank account with mobile money now have access to financial services, insurances. So I think technology really is helpful. And therefore, but then also because of technology, it enables a lot. Then automatically education and other services around technology can also grow.
Right. So the entire ecosystem support, you might say.
Yes, exactly. So the moment that technology comes in, there are spin-overs around several sectors.
Right. What are some of the projects within Ghana Innovation Hub over the last years that have sort of you would describe as good examples of the success of the hub?
Well, if I look at it, one of the interesting concept that is now being tested, which I always love to talk about, is in a company called Wash King. They actually build household toilets for very urban poor families. And they initially their technology was more or less that you need less water to flush, and then besides that, you need less dislodging. Actually, the technology is built that actually they use all sort of technology to process the fecal sludge to organic manure, so actually compost. And therefore, in some communities where it is very difficult to get a fecal sludge truck driver to drive in, you can build these sanitation blocks. Well, one of the things that he found out is that a lot of these communities are not capable of paying upfront. So now what he's now testing using technology is that he has these key cards, which he uses on the WC's doors, and you can buy vouchers.
Wow.
And through the vouchers, you can then have access to a sanitation block close to your house. Well, without technology, it would have been difficult to do this. And now with technology, people are used to vouchers, the same vouchers that people use for uploading their mobile phone credits and all those things. Now he's testing that model. Well, for me, that is an innovative concept that is now being tested, which normally would not be done. And of course, there are 20,000 reasons not to do it, but with the innovation and with the support that he's getting from us, he's now able to test the model.
Yeah, that's great. One of the challenges entrepreneurs face within the continent and even here is access to finance. How do you create opportunities for entrepreneurs, for startups to access finance for investment?
Well, I think there's some few. I think one of the things that I really have to recommend say about the Ghana government is that they had provided a proof of concept fund. So they recognize that also. So they have given us permission to give proof of concept funds to entrepreneurs. So I think that is already a good start. There are other programs that we are doing within the Ghana Innovation Hub, like the Orange Corner program funded by the Dutch government. And there we have the Orange Corner Innovation Fund, which again gives access to entrepreneurs. So there are so many other upcoming fundings that is impact investments that is giving opportunities for these young people to get access to finance. So yes, there are still opportunities, and with the world opening up, with a lot of funding in the world, I think that financing, although difficult, there is opportunity to get funding. But one of the things that I always tell everybody is that if a friend or family member or even a stranger comes to you to ask for funds or borrow money, the way you will scrutinize that person is the same way that you have to expect that a financial institution or donor or whosoever will want to scrutinize you to know that truly the funds that they are given you are going to use for your business, and that you are also willing to sacrifice. So you will not take the 100,000 or 50,000, and then the first thing that you are doing is have a big billboard with your name on it and your product, or buy a car. Those type of things are then the questionable. How are you growing your business? And I think that is something that still a lot of entrepreneurs need to understand.
I think that that is really a crucial aspect in dealing with some of the I would describe as cultural mindset issues that we are aware of. They have an investment, they immediately want to hire their cousins and brothers rather than actually hiring people who are qualified to run the business. How do you navigate some of those cultural minefields?
Well, I think one of the things that in our trainings, what we really talk about is governance. So we are not saying that family businesses are wrong, because if you look at the world, the best businesses are actually family businesses. So the perception that hiring family members will cripple your company is a wrong perception. But the challenge is more or less that you are hiring family members that are not qualified. I think that is the most important thing. So we discuss within these entrepreneurs in governance, are you putting the right person at the right place? So if you need an accountant, a financial manager, and you take somebody that has no any background in finance, then of course you are creating a problem. Either if it's a family member or a cousin or whatsoever, you are creating a problem. Why? Because the person is not competent enough to do that. So I think that is where the focus should be. Is the person competent enough? That is, I think, the main question that you need to ask yourself. And I think one of the other thing that we entrepreneurs, managers need to know is that you need to build around you people that are complementary to yourself, and not people that will always say, yes, sir, master, because you need to reflect. Because although you are the lead, you are the entrepreneur, you are the one with the vision, you don't have all the answers yourself. So you need people around you that can advise you positively, can tell you are going wrong, or can give you some new insights.
Right. Yeah, that's excellent, because once you think of some of these issues around working with family, working with people that you always have the resistance. Did you experience that at the start of some of the projects that you are talking with? Have you had that kind of experience where there is resistance to some cultural change issues?
Well, I think that for me, it helps to be a diaspora, because I can always fall back on being a diaspora. So I think in some cases I just ignore it. But for myself, for instance, although it is not against company policy or whatsoever, I have always decided that I will not hire a family member in the company that I work, simply because it will be difficult for that person, because it's family member. Everybody will have a double eye on that person, and so it will never be fair to that person. And secondly, it will also be strange that sometimes you, as a manager, it's not always that you will be strict and direct. Sometimes you just close your eyes, because you are also coming to build capacity. You are also giving people chances. And if you're not careful, you fall into a conflict of interest situation, which you don't want. So advisable is again not to do it unless you have clear-cut governance structures and policies which everybody can see that it's very explicit.
Right. And especially really integrating all of that within the business development training that you provide as well.
Yeah, exactly. So really asking the questions that normally nobody will ask.
Right. What are some of the main business development services, inclusive the issue of dealing with some of the cultural issues? What are some?
Yeah, so I think where we most often focus on at MDF is really about three things. One, the main one is about your product and your market. Is there a market for the product or service that you want to bring on board? Are there people who are willing to pay? That's one. And it doesn't mean automatically that those that want to pay are also the ones that are using. But because that is also sometimes people, the mismatch that people think of your customers are the same people that are using the services. So really helping the entrepreneur to understand his customer and the service or the product that the customer wants. That's one. The other side of it that we see really is operational efficiency, and really the focus from, most of the time the focus on the entrepreneur, but we try to move the entrepreneur to look at his organization and look at his team. And because that is the only time that you can grow, unless you say that you want to be a one-man business and you don't want to grow your business. But if you want to grow, you need other people with enough competencies who understand your vision, who understand your directives, and who also feel part of the growth of your business. I think that is very much important. And then the last one is networking. So really opening up your network, getting new access to new networks, getting access to other organizations, getting access to opportunities and all those things. And that is most of the time going to events that people know about you, talking to people about your product, your service, your challenges that you are facing in your business, so that there are people that are willing to help, support, or link you up.
Yeah, that's really crucial. Before we started, you mentioned a really crucial point about using your network in order to build your business, and especially for the diaspora. Those from the diaspora never really utilize quite effectively the network they have built within in the Netherlands or in other parts of the world in order to effectively establish in Ghana. How do you view that? What is your perspective on that?
Well, I think it's important to have it in mind that successful business people or entrepreneurs is also about experience that you have gained and experiences that you have. And most especially for diaspora, we are not in let's say an empty book. You have done so many things that you can utilize it. And often I tell people that, look, what makes you different as a diaspora compared to somebody that has never lived and worked outside the country is the things that you bring along from that country. And most of the time people think that it is about funds, but it's not about funds. It's about attitude. It's about skills. It's about asking questions. Sometimes and I know diaspora, if when you go to your country of origin, you'll be asking questions and you are asking yourself, why this, why that, why this. But we should be careful that it doesn't become complaint, but rather to do, okay, if they are doing it this way, can I bring solution to solve it that way? Because I've seen it work other way in the country that I'm coming from, or networks that I've been in. Is there a way of having partnerships? I always know that there are a lot of SMEs in Europe that would like to make the step to Africa, but they don't know how to go about it. Why not partner with these type of companies and say, hey, listen, I can bring this and I can bring that. Let's join hands and let's set up something. And then I believe that no business that wants to make that step will say no. But then it is based on also trusting each other and taking the risk from your end.
Right. Because you mentioned that trust is one of the issues that really keeps entrepreneurs back in actually networking and developing partnerships and co-founding initiatives together.
Yeah. No, that's true. I always say that it's nice to sign contracts, but at the end of it, you only look at the contracts when there's a conflict.
Right.
And that's always like that. You can sign all contracts and all those things, and when you are happy with each other, we all understand the contract the same way. The moment that there are challenges, then you have all different interpretation. So if the initial, of course, you need to have contracts and all those things, but if the starting point of a contract is on basis of I don't trust you, then the best is not to sign any contract.
Yeah, that's true. Because if that the main impetus shouldn't be I don't trust you, so let's have a contract. Then there's really no need for the initiative to take off.
Let's be honest, all of us, when we buy a phone or we log in on a website and it is written click on accept all the contractual arrangements whatsoever, how many of us really read the
No.
the information? We hardly read it. We all click yes, 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 and download. So it's very strange that I've seen that also, that sometimes people will be fighting about the sharing of the profit and they haven't even sold one product. And the time and energy and the frustration that is put into that doesn't even give the chance for the business to be successful.
That's
And really,
in founders in some founding businesses.
yeah, but yeah, so some of the things is that if you don't really, setting up that business is very lonely in your being alone. Doing it with somebody with everybody's other ideas and concepts and all those things, if you don't have a basis of trust, it is so difficult because you can have different ideas to go to Rome, but that doesn't mean that it has to do with trust. It has to do with different perspective. And as long as you mix perspective from trust, it will always be difficult.
That's a very important distinction, actually. Trust and really having a different perspective. It's not really about because your partner has a different way of looking at it. He is not trustworthy. It's simply that he has a different way of looking at it, an alternative way of looking at it, more or less.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, and that is the beauty of working with a diverse group of people. I think I've been successful because of always accepting the diversity of people and working with a diverse team, working with competent expertise from different fields, and reflecting with people and all those things. I think that makes one to be successful.
Right. And talking about diversity of projects and diversity of ideas, I would like us to discuss Green Energy Ghana, where you are currently.
Yeah, so Green Energy Ghana started in 2015 actually, under the Ghana Netherlands WASH program. Was a partnership program between the Dutch government and the Ghana government, where the idea was to solve the sanitation problems in Ghana. One of the challenges that was foreseen was that the prison service was once built for 500 inmates, but of course, because of the growth of there are more. Sometimes there could be between 3,000 and 4,000 inmates. So there was like an environmental challenge happening. And then the Water Resource Commission would have had an issue with taking another government entity to court. So the solution was, can we find an innovative concept where we can solve this environmental challenge? If you Google, you will see also the fecal sludge through trucks being dumped directly to sea and all. So the Green Energy Ghana is a concept that we developed as MDF with few other partners, where we actually are taking the whole value chain of fecal sludge. So from the intake, from households, for institutional intake as the prison, as public sanitation blocks, up to cleaning it and creating byproducts. So whole circular economy. So the concept that we have with Green Energy Ghana is that we collect fecal sludge, we process it in a treatment plant where we produce biogas, and in the future, if it's very a lot, we can give it back to the grid, to the Ghana Electricity Company, and another side of what will remain, we clean it so that it will be pathogen free, so no diseases in it, and then we mix it with organic waste, and with that you will have nutritious value compost, which again you can then sell to farmers for organic vegetables or organic fruits. And then besides that, the water that has been cleaned will have enough nutrition value where you can then do, like, for instance, fish farming or whatsoever. So the whole circular economy, again, an innovation to solve social problems.
All right. I noticed that this is an area that you really love, this sort of projects that sort of give back to the community, that has kind of a secular approach.
Yeah. So I think that is the way to uplift some of these countries. And I think where you need to have an approach where it solves that social problem, socio-economical problem, it uplifts people by creating jobs for those people and getting income. And I always believe that when people have decent jobs, their own income and all those things, they will make sure that schools are very good. They will make sure that there are good hospitals. They will make sure that infrastructural projects, everything, and it automatically creates also peace within the locality, the environment, and all those things. So I really believe in that. And I really believe that individuals, everybody in the world wants to have that self-reliance. And human beings, that is what we want, but sometimes you just need that additional support. And I always say that I'm one of the few lucky ones that had that exposure in Europe. And I've had that the opportunity to travel all over the world, going to the Caribbean, going to Latin America, Asia, Africa, and throughout Europe. So you see a lot of things, and one thing that you see, every individual wants to have a say about his or her own life, but not everybody has that opportunity. So anytime that I get that opportunity, I try to bring these combinations together.
What are some, you mentioned your travels around the world. What are some of the key elements in entrepreneurship that you see that is common with most of the regions you've traveled to, say to the Caribbean and to Asia and other parts of the world?
Well, what I see is that young people are really ready to do something new. And they are looking for support. And sometimes the biggest challenge is that you have already systems in place that is not conducive for them. And sometimes I think that is the biggest challenge, and they just need some examples, and they just need a chance. And I saw that when I was working in Amsterdam working with what they called, how do you say, school dropouts and those
Right.
that had contact with the police. That you see that a lot of institutions, a lot of organizations don't really talk to the beneficiaries, don't really talk to these young people with the question, what do you need or what do you want? So I think, but I see, if you see some of these young people, you see the zeal, in their eyes, you see the passion that they are putting into what they are doing with the little that they have. Then you see that there's surely talents available that we need to pick up.
Yeah, and I see that's also part of your passion in working with the young people, that you are also linked to the Orange Corners project of the Dutch government, right?
Yes. So yeah. So I really believe in the. I really believe in that helping these young companies, especially now that it is already difficult to set up your business, but with Orange Corner, you focus on companies that have already set up to a certain level, and pushing them to the next level is very much a blessing. Where somebody has set up from scratch and then has 4 or 5 people working for him or her, and then uplifting it to 15 people, helping them to raise funds. Well, it's really, I think, the next best thing to do. So I really enjoy working for these companies, because it is really seeing the new generation of leaders, new generation of entrepreneurs, new generation of innovators coming together to do it for themselves.
Yeah, that's great. So we are talking about Orange Corners. Is it a competitive program, or is it simply entrepreneurship support program?
Well, it is a competitive entrepreneurship program, because we have every year a slot for 30 companies in 2 cohorts of 15, 15. So
Right.
it is really competitive in the sense that you need to prove to us that with our support, you can move to the next level. So it's really, so there's not freebies, although the support is being paid by the Dutch government and all those things, but it is an investment. And
Yeah.
the investment, you need to earn that investment of that support. And so up to now, I think we have been lucky to have good businesses, good concepts that we are really helping to the next phase.
Yeah, awesome. I wanted to ask you about what do you think about entrepreneurship in general in Ghana? What's the current outlook of it in Ghana? I mean, simply based on the projects that you are undertaking from MDF, what is the general environment?
Well, I think the government started already a long time to really say we need to focus on entrepreneurship development, because we need to create new jobs to be able to absorb all these young people that are coming out of university or out of these TVET institutions. So I think that is something that the government already started doing. And I think upcoming years, and I see that also already with the new projections of programs. I see development partners, I see organizations like Mastercard Foundation, all really focusing on economic recovery, with economic resilience, and entrepreneurship support to both existing companies as well as young entrepreneurs, as well as women-led businesses. Because at the end of it, I think that is also very much important. If we have enough companies that are growing in a sustainable way, they will be able to provide decent jobs. Those people that have decent jobs and therefore decent incomes will be able to cater for themselves and their family. And automatically you get then that spin over and a spill over of, let's say, a sustainable development in the country. And I think that creates also stability and gives a country the opportunity to grow, because then all these companies will be able to pay more taxes, government can use these taxes to grow and build infrastructure that is again needed to support these SMEs.
Yeah, you mentioned sustainability. I think that's one of the areas that I think is not emphasized enough, and one of the major problems we have and challenges we have is the culture of maintenance. That's of course linked to sustainability in the area of business. How does the government ensure that some of these businesses are sustainable, or say within the private sector? In your case, how is that ensured?
Well, that's why I'm saying it's a combination of the entrepreneur. So you need to have people that are really interested to set up a business and they are doing it for themselves. So it's not they are forced into it. I think that is one of the that's why it is very competitive in the selection. So it should be people that really are willing to do that, and not because there is an opportunity for funding that they are doing it. So I think that is important. Second of it is that showcasing people how the importance of maintenance, importance of customer relations, importance of building on something. And I've seen it that a lot of companies, when they start, they are very nice, very good, and all those things. But when they have the numbers, then they get back to the normal system. And I think that is something that we are really trying to move people not to do that. And well, we just started, I would say. So I think that outcome will be seen in a few years. But I think people really understand the importance of this maintenance behavior. And I think because there's a lot of new middle class coming up, that they are also demanding for that service.
Right. The middle class in Ghana is growing quite large.
Yes.
On the entire region, actually.
Yes, so they are demanding for good quality healthcare, good quality schools, good quality housing. So they are also demanding for that. I quite remember that a long time restaurants were only in hotels, and you didn't have special restaurants unless it was a chop bar. But now you see good restaurants upcoming that fully are doing restaurant business. So
the local street food restaurants, you mean?
So you could only choose between that and hotel restaurants.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But now you could see that there's a whole list of restaurants that you can select, which good quality, high level, and prices are also moderate. And I think that showcased that there are more people who are able to afford it that are not expats or top rich Ghanaians.
Right, middle class, or even not necessarily middle class even.
Yeah, so let's say you have of course the high end upper middle class, you have the middle class and the lower end middle class.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why exciting times for Ghana, and I think Accra is quite booming as well in that regards.
Yeah, Accra is booming, and I think the next level for Ghana, for Accra, is to have this growth also expand to other regions, other locations, so that the nation will be also booming. And I think that is really very much important to steer that development up.
Yeah, and I think isn't part of government's support for development the one district, one factory policy. How is that? How successful is that? And do you think it's viable to building the entrepreneurial culture in Ghana?
Well, for me, everything that leads to private sector development, I always will say, let's do it. I'm really a private sector person. So I always say that. And I think the question shouldn't be, is it working? But rather look at what is the intention of the program, and at least what I see and the stories that I hear and all those things, I see a lot of these businesses coming up and really making use of it, and they are growing and they are employing a lot of people. So I am not a policy developer that I can say that it is thanks to the policy, but I see these companies coming up, and I'm happy for that because again, 50 people are employed. The other one is 100 people. Others are 200. You see Volkswagen setting up their
Oh, really?
whole plant. Yes, you see. So those are all things that is showing that these multinationals also see the benefit of setting up these plants in Ghana. So I'm sure that if these multinationals are also doing it and expanding to Ghana, it just showcases that uh, there is a good possibility in Ghana. And yes, and so for me, the vision behind one district, one factory is good. Because again, what we discussed about it, that I see it more or less like industrialization of the districts. So the moment that you have an anchor business set up there, and the anchor business needs to tap into the whole value chain, it will improve restaurants because if I have a big company there with more than 200-300 people working for me, they need to be fed. So people with restaurants will come. It could be that visitors will come, so there must be hotels. It could be that people want to move closer by, so people will build houses, and then because there are houses there and people have family, so schools should be there, hospitals should be there. So it is really the idea of building the economy, building development through an anchor business that is a private party that is doing that investment. So I think the philosophy behind it is there, and they just started the past 4 years. So I think I'm sure that they will evaluate it and based on that, improve on it, adjust it. So, but then, we have in December elections. So depending on the elections, we will then know if the new government will continue, adjust it, or come up with a new concept.
Yeah, the hope is that the new government, if a new government is elected, is that there would be a sense of continuity. Because one of the issues we face within the policy area in Africa and many other parts of the world, anyway, is the fact that you could have interesting projects such as this get abandoned by a succeeding administration because they happen to disagree politically, and it's always a disadvantage to the regions that are that seek this kind of investment. And I think, yeah, the most important thing is the focus on private sector development. No matter whether or not a new administration comes in or an old administration instituted a policy, it could be continued. Isn't it? Isn't that the case?
Well, I totally agree. And I think, looking at, in Ghana, I think also, and especially also in Africa, what is very much important is that we have this name of always having free and fair elections.
Right.
And as I said, I travel a lot in Africa, and really one of the things that I'm always proud of in Ghana is that we have that stability of peace. And really, no matter which policies and all those things, if you don't have that peace or you don't have that reassurance that you can sleep and wake up and there's nothing going to be wrong, it is so difficult to develop. And I think that is the strength of our political parties, that they are always making sure that we have that peace of mind. I think that is very much important. And then again, I think we all want the best for Ghana. We all are moving towards the focus of getting Ghana to a middle income country. But then again, perception and perspectives. Everybody feels like there's a different way to go to Rome. But then I think one of the things that entrepreneurs should also be able to do is to make sure that government listen to us, and that no matter which party is in power, that we also are open and close to tell government that, oh, this policy needs to continue or this policy needs to be adjusted. And I think we have strong private sector led institutions that are already doing this with various governments in place.
This really shows good prospects for Ghana in the next decade.
Well, I think so. I think really, and I think although with COVID it will be a bit challenging, but I think it's also opening some opportunities. It is opening, I think, for a lot of African countries, it's showcasing how important to develop locally based companies and develop locally based expertise and develop locally based resources. And I think the coming decades that will be really the reinforcement and the acceleration of the local economy.
Right. So it's really going to be a period of acceleration on what is on the foundation that has been laid.
Correct. Yes, I think so. I think so. And then it is now up to us, citizens, companies, civil society, government officials and organizations to work together for the betterment of the countries. And I think as long as we have that in mind, there are so many things that we can pick up together.
Great, great. What sectors would you say are prime sectors for innovative projects or for innovation in general in Ghana and the sub-region in general? What are some of those sectors you see that are
if I look at it, I always link it to some of the challenges that we are having. So I always say waste management, and then recycling, the real circular economy type of things. Look at renewable energy. I think renewable energy solutions will be very much interested. Climate smart agriculture is very much important. Light manufacturing. I think those are really the basic things that we need to do. And let's say value added businesses. To give you an example, I quite remember that, suddenly when we were doing when COVID came in and then everybody was producing sanitizers.
Oh, right. Yes.
It came a moment that a lot of companies didn't have these plastic bottles to put them in. Why? Because we don't have a factory that is producing them, we import them. So the question is, why haven't we set up these type of businesses already in the country? So those are some of the questions that we need to ask ourselves and put those investments in.
And I think, mentioning even that, during this period of COVID, that's one key area that you're mentioning that sort of gave room for innovation back there. Were there efforts to set up something similar in Ghana to sort of produce that?
Yeah, no, but I think that is the eye-opener that a lot of people are having. I quite remember that, like, rice imports and all those things, and then suddenly some countries were saying, okay, let's hold on to export rice from our countries to those countries. And then suddenly, oh yes, we don't have rice import. So then now suddenly Ghanaian rice producers will say, hey, okay, but we need to do more investment in that because that is a product that Ghanaians like, and we need to stimulate that. So I think, again, locally grown businesses, added value is now being seen as something that we really need to tap in and bring these innovations in the country.
Yeah, COVID-19 really was an eye-opener, has been an eye-opener.
Yeah, so from only consumers to become producers. I think that is really something that helps also innovation.
Yeah. How is the agribusiness sector? That is, of course, our first natural area to go to, right, in the region?
Yes, yes. I think especially a lot of young people are stepping into that field, whereby they are not only focusing on producing it, but the added value. So I know some of the companies that you can then order directly, and then you get everyday fresh vegetables at home. Well, those are some of the wonderful concepts that are now being done. Um, some are doing concept whereby you can be owner of an agriculture land. So it's not an investment, but it's more or less like as if you are the farmer, but because you don't have time, they are farming for you, and then you can have access to the proceeds. There are so many concepts being developed with technology and innovations that you sometimes amazed. I know two companies that are doing coffee beans and selling internationally, which is great. And I see all these interesting concepts, and I'm like, okay, this is worth helping. And I'm sure that coming years, we will get more of these companies to be supported.
Yeah, for sure. I think the idea what you mentioned about an anchor company, for example, being set up in a region, that can actually be applied as well to the entire to every other part of the country where an entrepreneur or a project is successful. You then get those who are also interested in the sector who see that it's succeeding and
Yeah.
want to invest in that.
Yeah. No, I think that is the I think now that that will be now the next step. How do you institutionalize all these type of concepts, and how do you help grow all these businesses?
Yeah, one area we haven't really spoken about is really private ventures or private investors, for example, private equity firms coming up and
Yeah.
support. Is that an area that is growing in Ghana? How is it in Ghana currently?
Well, I know that there are a lot of these funds upcoming, and they are there, and I see a lot of companies raising capital and all those things. But I think the biggest challenge in Ghana is your first deal, between your first 10,000 up to your first 100,000. I think that is the biggest challenge that we are facing in Ghana.
Yeah,
Again, yes.
no. So how do you mean in terms of the
Well,
specific?
the point is that yes, there are a lot of funding agencies and that are willing to give you step in your business for 100 and 200,000, 1.5, and even up to 15, 20 million and all those things. But the challenge is that I have a brilliant idea. I don't have even 1,000 Ghana cedis. I'm maybe the first in my family that finished university. Um, but I am a brilliant person. I have a good concept, and there are no financial institutions that are willing to give me my first 10,000 Ghana cedis or my first 20,000 to really set up my business. Well, what can I do? And I think the coming period there should be more focus on the first 10, 20, 15, 100,000 US dollars, which can help these companies get to a certain level where then they are easily can be matched to all these impact investors.
Right. Because the impact investors the deal above 100,000, 200,000.
Exactly. Because of the administrative costs that they also have.
That's right. What are some of the key drivers to building the entrepreneurial culture for any business?
Key drive. Well, I think one of the things that, at least in Ghana, what I see is that we are Ghanaians are practically we are traders. So it is actually in that entrepreneurial spirit is in us. But along the way, we try to find and do it safe. Why? Because we don't really have a social safety net. So an employment is actually our safety net, either for government or for a private company. And when we get there, our ambition is not that high. We just want to do what we have to do. We don't go we don't do extreme, and we also don't do below bar, then I'm always there. I think that's the biggest challenge that we are having. Um, the other drivers but other side of it is that there's not enough jobs, so we tend to have a lot of entrepreneurs out of necessity.
Mm.
So, well, I'm actually looking for a job. I'm not getting a job. Okay, let me try and set up something. But a lot of them that I've seen, immediately that they get an opportunity to be employed, they are in employment. So I think one of the things that we need to start again is also bring entrepreneurship within the schools, from primary, secondary school, and create that spirit of enterprising people. I think that is the right word to use. Creating enterprising people that can then add value to development.
Correct. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So for me, that is it is about enterprising people. So because not everybody can be an entrepreneur, and I think on average in a society, 15 to 20% of the people living there could be an entrepreneur. So we should also be careful that we don't see in every unemployed young person an entrepreneur, because having an enterprise or being an entrepreneur, you also need good enterprising workers. So we need to have that combination of entrepreneurship and employability.
Right. Correct. I often say that entrepreneurship is not an activity; it's a mindset.
Yeah, well, yes, but it is also a career path.
Yeah.
So the willingness to say I want to be a doctor and then specialized, you also need to do that with entrepreneurship. So that's why I always call myself enterprise and specialist, because yes, I like setting up companies, I like setting up new concepts, I like setting up new ideas, and I really believe in doing that in various settings, various concepts, and various roles.
Correct. Enterprising specialist. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
And what's the one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
Honestly, that's one thing that I always want to tell young diasporas. I'm one of the lucky ones that the educational background that I selected is really helping me. But I see a lot of young people selecting their educational directive, uh, not taking into account the world as a potential workplace. So I think that is very much important. Languages, speaking various languages. Luckily enough, I speak English and Dutch and local dialect, local language tree. But then I'm now looking at it. If I could also speak French, the world would have been more opener to me. So I think those are some of the things that reflective, looking back, I would have done differently. But the rest, I think that I'm happy where I am, because I see that every year I grow. I see that every year I get opportunity to do new, exciting things, and with various and variety of people.
Yeah, because we measure our standards with our standards rather than just the standards someone else set. So you have
Yeah,
to set yourself, and you build that every year. You improve on that.
exactly. So I think that is most important thing that you need to, and set your own career path. So not let it be controlled by others.
Correct. What would you say has been your biggest challenge so far, and how you learn from it?
Well, I think the biggest challenge so far is For me, if honestly, the inequality that still exists in the world, that is really what I see. I see the opportunities that are actually not there if you are born in a certain uh, location. And I quite remember last year I went to the US for an education fair,
Mhm.
and there the topic was digitalization and coding and whatsoever, and digital literacy. And then the other side of it, a month later, I was in Ghana and we were talking about normal literacy.
Oh, wow.
And then I was like, wow, if these opportunities are there for so many people that they are even passing reading and writing, and they are talking into digital languages and creating new stuff and all those things. And in Africa, some young people have never even seen a computer. Then I'm a bit worried. If I see my son of 2 years who has a tablet and can go to YouTube to watch his own programs and can now knows that, okay, you need to swipe, you need to do this,
Right, right, right.
and I'm like, okay, it has nothing to do with how smart you are. It has to do with having access to. And luckily, my kids have access to. But what about all these millions of kids that have that intelligence, but they don't have access to? Then that is more or less my worry. And but then it's also again one of the reasons why every day you wake up and say, okay, this is my contribution that I can do the coming years to make to bring a change.
Yeah, and indeed, the lack of opportunities or the lack of equality, or however we describe it, those are all avenues for innovation. To think of how best we can improve society.
Yeah, exactly. But then you need to trigger it. A lot of, if you don't have any clue and you don't have people around you that sees that clue, then it becomes tradition. Then it becomes, oh, this is what we have been doing all the rest of our life. My grandfather did it. My father, my father's father, my father. That is then the story that is being then told. And anybody that comes in a bit will be seen as rebellious. So we need to facilitate that. And I think there's a role for diaspora to play that role. There's a role for international organizations to play that role. And yes, accessibility. I think really focusing on quality accessibility to all these systems, programs, and all will be needed the coming years.
Right, right, right. That's absolutely. Now, for some light-hearted questions. Who are the three people who have been the most influential to you?
Who? Influential. Well, funny enough, none of there are few people that I can mention that I from a this like for instance somebody that I really appreciate a lot is somebody like Kofi Annan. And against, I always say, against all odds in becoming the UN boss, where he was the first out of the organization. So I think it really reflects that where there's a will and you have the competence and the capacity, you can make it. I think that is one of the things that I really love. The other one that I've always appreciate is the Minister of Finance, Ghana at this moment, Ken Ofori-Atta.
Mm.
And the reason why is that my first internship that I did outside the Netherlands was actually at his firm, Data Bank. And
When it was in the private sector, of course.
yeah, exactly. When he was running a financial institution, and the way they were running it was very amazing. And I quite remember that he shared a book to all his managers called Who Moved My Cheese, and was about change management. And I quite remember that there was a case that somebody, a woman came in the office, and she wanted to have more information about one of their products, but nobody was paying attention to her, and they were all looking at those that were well dressed and all those things. And I quite remember that he then called a meeting and tried to tell them what they were doing wrong, and where he showed that you really have to have respect for everybody. The moment that somebody enters your office, no matter how the person looks like and all those things, you need to give that person the audience.
A very good.
So for me, those are some of the examples, and of course, I always put my parents as an example. Struggling in Europe for us to have a good life. I think that is always a key point for us to say that, okay, we need to make them proud. And if I look at my siblings, we are all doing well. Then I'm like, okay, that is really it was not of chance. But other people that you will not know are really like a young person in Sierra Leone, where people think it is impossible, and the person is doing a nice business. For me, those are the inspiration. People that are in Liberia, I've seen some of these young people that have grown through the war period, but still are having that light in their eyes of hope and success and doing it. That motivates me again to say that, oh, I actually don't have any reason to complain.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, Once you see those young people with a hope and a desire and passion in their eyes, that keeps you going in your work.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, those are the people that we hardly portray. People that day in, day out, they are capable of doing the next step and really having small businesses. We call them informal sector companies, but most of them have sometimes maybe 20, 30 people on their payroll.
Right, and we describe them as informal, and they're informal sector. But they're making impact in their communities.
Yeah, exactly. So those are some of the people that I always say that, well, I look at them and learn a lot from them.
That's great. That's great. One of the most common myth we always have about doing business in Africa is understandably some of the challenges. But what would you say is the one common myth about doing business in Africa?
I think one of the things that doing business in Africa is that you need to have patience. I think that is for me, that is the biggest. You need to, sometimes, especially Europe, those who have lived in Europe or the US, we are used to, okay, I make an appointment 4:00. They're expecting me to be there exactly 4:00. I'm there 4:00, and somebody will help me, and I can, within 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I'm done. I can, if it's Netherlands, I can then do again 9292 OV, and then I know the time of my train, my bus, and I'm again exactly that time at home. One thing you need to forget, that doesn't happen in Africa. And it is not an unwill, it's not but that is the system. So that is happening. So I think most of the time is that I always say is that you have control over yourself and you have control over your attitude. So you can make sure that you are on time, you can make sure that you follow the rules, you can make sure that, but you don't have any say about what other persons will do. So don't stress yourself about that.
Yeah, that's always a temptation, right? You always feel as if the attitude that you have built would carry on to the other region where you are, but that could be quite disappointing.
Yeah, but then what happens is that people, yes, but the challenge is that what happens is that people, when they have meetings at 1 o'clock and they come every time they are on time, and the person that they are meeting comes 15, 20, 1 hour later, then the next time that they are making an appointment, they also be 30 minutes late.
Ah, yeah. So then you have the secular kind of thinking.
Exactly. Then you come back, then nobody changed. But if you always are on time, then maybe the person will say that, if I'm meeting this guy there, he's always on time. So let me now also be on time for him. Otherwise, he will complain. So at least then you have made a change for one person. It could be that that person will say, okay, no, okay, I can, if I do this way, I can always be on time. Do you get it? So it is more or less an attitudinal way of doing things, and 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 that is the most important thing to bring on board.
That's correct. It's all about attitudinal change, changing the attitudes.
Yes, and you start with that change with yourself.
That's correct. Which really leads to one of the main areas of work that we do on Impact Mindset is really dealing with issues of attitudes, dealing with the mindset issues, and how some of the mindset and attitudes that we have either hold us back or either gives us or serve as a catalyst to the initiatives that we undertake. The last question I would like to ask you is, what's the one mindset change that led to your path, self-mastery and success? What would you sort of point out in your entrepreneurship journey was a mindset change that sort of served as a catalyst for you?
Well, always keep your dream intact.
Right.
So don't deviate from the dream. It could be that the path to that dream changes, but don't lose sight of that dream.
Right, correct.
So like I can give you an example. Like I really believe in entrepreneurship development. When I joined MDF, I had every opportunity to shift to totally different direction and all those things, which I think I would also have been successful, but it would not be my passion.
Mm-hmm.
But taking that challenge of institutionalizing that entrepreneurship within the context of MDF, where I never had thought of joining an MDF when I had that dream initially. So but because the dream was really enterprise support, now I have reached that goal, but then in a different setting, in a different structure, but still achieving that goal. So I think that is more or less most important thing. You can be you need to be a bit flexible in those the pathway towards that dream.
Right. So it's not really about having everything carved in stone, but you more or less have a vision of this is where you're going, but understanding that along the way and along the path, you would be able to be flexible enough to adapt to the environment in which you are being.
Exactly. Adapt to the environment, change your strategies, change your way of working, partnering, learning from your mistakes, celebrating your successes. I think those are very much important to be able to have still that horizon in front of you.
Right. But going forward and not losing your focus, not losing your vision, but
Exactly.
directly you're going, but being able to adapt to changing circumstances.
Exactly.
Great. Thanks a lot for joining me on this episode of Impact Mindsets podcast. It was a real pleasure talking with you again, Richard, and providing the audience with an excellent view of the entrepreneurial and entrepreneurship culture and innovation environment in Ghana and the sub-region. I know that your experience over the last nearly 2 decades could we definitely should have another episode we could talk about more. We could talk in more detail on some of the projects that you have been involved in. So how can people connect with you online?
Well, everybody can go to the Facebook and look for me. But if you Google my name, Richard Yeboah, and put in MDF, you will also find me. Or Ghana Innovation Hub, you will always find me.
Yeah, and of course, details on Ghana Innovation Hub and the other projects you are working on, as well as contact details will be available on the episode's page on impactmindset.com. Thanks a lot, Richard.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for listening to Impact Mindset, where we build a community of relentless entrepreneurs. I hope you enjoyed the show. Stay informed and visit our website on impactmindset.com and follow me on Facebook and Instagram at FonBruno15, on Twitter and LinkedIn at FonBruno. If you are interested in private coaching and courses on startup strategy, ideation and concept development, contact me via podcast@impactmindset.com or visit my website at fonbruno.com.